everyone. It's Rachel.
And Olivia.
And today we have a very, very special guest. He is an award-winning actor and the president of our class at our high school, Luca Herman.
Woo! So Luca came to me a couple weeks ago and he said that he really enjoyed listening to the podcast and he felt that he had an idea of a topic that could really impact our viewers in a positive way. So he is here to kind of answer questions, share his thoughts, share about how he's implemented it into his life and the effect it's had on him, which is...
The golden rule. It's my favorite kindness adjacent anything. A little context for those who don't know what the golden rule is. It's treat others the way you want to be treated. And so just if you see someone walking, give them a big smile and maybe they'll smile back, or help someone with their homework and maybe one day they'll help you.
So, Luca, can you tell us about bringing the golden rule into your life, how you think that has affected how you feel day to day?
I think it's affected me in a positive way, because there's no harm in being nice to people, and you only get benefits out of following the rule.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's nothing like, it's not going to kill you if you don't help, or if you help someone with your homework and they'll do something for you in return, or like not the homework example always, but just being nice to people and you'll usually get something in return. This is even like a staple in like cultures and religions. We see like karma and that type of stuff. So like what you put out into the world is what you get back. And so that's kind of how I see it and how I incorporate it.
Have you ever found it difficult to use the golden rule? Like, has it ever been like you've had to really, really use some self-control in order to use the golden rule?
I mean, yeah, there's always cases where it's like a lot, but that's depending on how that person was to you. Like if someone's always mean to you and they ask you to help them out with something, you'll want to be like, no, because they were a pain to me. Why should I be nice to them? Like, what benefit am I getting? But then you think, maybe if I'm nice to them now, they'll be nicer to me instead of showing me these negative feelings that they've shown me before.
Do you think that it has had a positive effect on you personally? So, I mean, not just someone being nice to you, but do you think it has just made you feel happier overall?
I think so. And I think people see that it has too. Because like I'll go down the hall or whatever, people will say hi and whatever, and then I'll have friends come up to me and they're like, why do you say hi to them? They're rude to like everybody. And I'm like, they're not rude to me. And they're like, what? And like I'll be friends with people who aren't friends with my friends. That was confusing. But like, because they treat me with respect, so I treat it back to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of just how I see it and why I do it.
Definitely tricky though, because I know a lot of people aren't okay with that, with like loyalty. Like if you have a really close friend who's been disrespected by another friend, and then they're like, how dare you like wave at that person or like be cordial with that person or smile at that person. But one thing that we do try to preach is, no matter how someone has disrespected you, you never reciprocate that. So even if someone has disrespected your friend, never reciprocate that. You don't have to be close to them. You don't have to be like best buddies with them, but it's important that you don't treat them. You don't want to continue the cycle, right, of like negativity and rudeness.
So I think that is a balance that we all have to find, is like, what's that Taylor Swift quote that you like? A friend to all is a friend to none. And so even though it is good to be kind to all, how do you find that balance of also keeping loyalty to your close friends, where you don't want to be over friendly with someone maybe that has harmed your friend, and then they'll feel as though you aren't being as good to them as a friend?
That is a great question. It's really that balance that you just kind of have to like make your priorities, really. Like if it's your friend's ex who completely wronged them some way or another. And, and you do have to make your priorities, and like it's like being nice to someone isn't hanging out with them all the time. It's not giving them money if they need like help with paying for something. It's not like helping them with homework or any of that stuff. Just being nice is just not ignoring someone, really. I think it's just saying hi, not being a pain to them. Like, you're not just going to punch someone in the hallway because they're friends with your ex. You're just going to say hi and just keep walking.
So I think that's definitely something that I've learned, where I've had people be unkind to me in the past, and it's really easy to think like, well, they did it to me, why can't I do it back to them? And like, they already crossed that boundary, they already crossed that line of unkind behavior towards me, so that's just our new relationship now. What's wrong with reciprocating that? And then I realized that doing that to other people, bringing it back to them, what they thrust upon you, it's not about the negative effect they have that has on them. It's about the negative effect that it has on you and as you as a person. So I really realized to rein it in and not let that, because it's such an easy principle to think up of like, well, they already did it first. That's just how it is between me and that person. But what does that say about you? What does that reflect about you? And I think that's a lot of what people have to take into consideration is like internal reflection. So I think what Luca's saying is really good. Treat others the way you want to be treated, because even if they've already treated you poorly, you can still reset that boundary and be like, well, I'm still going to be kind. Or you don't have to be like best friends, like Luca said. You don't have to be close friends, but you could still be cordial. You could still be acquaintances and just not do anything negative. Keep it neutral at least, because then you're kind of resetting that boundary for that relationship.
If you don't know Luca, he's a very gets along with everyone person. That's probably why he is such a good president of our class, but he really like is friends with everyone. Everyone knows his name. Everyone loves him. So I do have a question, Luca, out of curiosity. Do you have people who are mean to you? Who like do treat you with disrespect, and that you have literally had to just like swallow your pride and just treat them the way you want to be treated?
Yes, entirely. I think there's no one that you can just be so nice to that they just won't hate you. There's just always people that are going to hate for some reason. I don't really think people are like really mean to me per se. Like, I think people annoy me is more the thing.
So when you say annoying, just to define it a little better, you mean that they are disrupting your day-to-day, or they are disrupting your class time?
Yeah. Or just off topic. And it would just like annoy me. But then like sometimes a little break, especially summer break, helps me manage them a lot better and deal with them a lot more. Sometimes it does the opposite. Sometimes people I'll be really close with, and then a little break will make me mad. Maybe they'll change, but this isn't important. It's more, there's always going to be people that treat you awfully no matter how you treat them. And there's people that you don't want to waste your time on if they're not going to reciprocate that time that you spent on them.
I think it's definitely important. As much as we preach being kind to everyone no matter what, it's also important to have boundaries, right? Like, don't let people walk all over you. Don't let people disrespect you and you just like smile at them and not stand up for yourself. It's just do so in a respectful way. But also I think what Luca's saying about like annoyance, no one is perfect, first of all, so I'm not going to pretend that I go about my day without being annoyed, right? It's humanly impossible, especially if you're sleep deprived. You're more irritable, you're very quick to anger. People will get on your nerves so easily. It's human nature. There's nothing we can do to combat that. But what's important is that when we do get annoyed or someone bothers us, even if they don't intend to, and it's just like something that it's completely your fault and personal to you that has nothing to do with other people, and you get annoyed, that's valid. You're allowed to get annoyed. You're allowed to feel human emotions. What's important is you don't take it out on them. No matter what, you do not take out those emotions, because it has nothing to do with the other person and almost everything to do with you.
And you have no idea, you could totally, and I'm not targeting this towards anyone, I mean viewers, anyone in general could be annoying someone else. You have no idea. And I bring this up because back to the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. So say that you were disrupting someone or you were making them a little more angry toward because of your behaviors. Wouldn't you want them to still have that patience with you? Wouldn't you want them to still have that kindness? Just give a smile, still be inclusive, of course, because you have no idea. And that goes to say with any character traits, if someone has something that you don't like, well, that could be you to them. How would you want to be handled? And that doesn't mean be best friends with them. That doesn't mean go run and give them a hug. That just means give them a smile. Don't leave them out. Still use kind words. I think smiling really is a good idea. That's a simple, very kind and cordial thing to do to someone.
It's funny because there are people who I know don't like me. And just an example, I saw them at our recent like homecoming dance, and I had this overwhelming urge to compliment them because I thought they looked really, really nice. But I was terrified because I was like, what if they think it's like inauthentic, or that I'm joking, or that like they don't take it the right way, or they like, you know what I mean? I was scared to be nice because I was literally scared that like they would think that I was just joking or like not being sincere.
If you mean it, you know you did.
I completely agree with Luca. I think that even if someone doesn't believe that you're being sincere, you know, you treat them kindly and they're like, you're worried they think like, oh, I treated them so badly. They're just being fake to me. Like, why would they do that? Who cares? Who cares if someone else thinks that? You know you were being genuine. You know you're being kind. You know that you were treating that person how you would want to be treated by them. And maybe even overcompensating because they treated you not as well as you wish they did. And that is okay if they don't believe you. I really think so. I think it's just, again, a reflection on you. And you'll feel good that, you know, you did the right thing. You said the right thing.
The golden rule at its core is empathy, right? The ability to put ourselves in other people's shoes and think, if I were them, how would I want to be treated? And it's so important to think about that and utilize it, because we can hate someone, but we know they still deserve our respect. They still deserve kindness, and no matter like how you feel towards them, if you were them in their shoes, how would your actions make them feel? So I do have a question for Luca. What kind of incited the importance of this principle in your life? Like, is it something to do with your upbringing? Maybe were you like, I'm not assuming, but were you like ever bullied? Did you ever, like, what did you experience in your life that made this so important to you?
I think a lot of it has to do with how I was raised. Like, one of like my fondest memories is reading the book, like or like filling the bucket or whatever it's called. You know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's just like a book, and there's a picture of like a cartoon bucket, and it's like you go around, you be nice to people, and you fill your bucket a little bit. Try to have a full bucket every day.
Really sweet.
And I like always liked it because I was like, I want a full bucket. Like, why shouldn't I have a full bucket? And so it was like that. And like my parents were, I mean, my dad was always nice to everybody. My mom is the best. Love my mom, but she gets frustrated with people easy. I do too, though. I do too. I can't say that I don't. And then just like now I try to focus on it even more because like I see that like people are like, oh, you're so friendly with everyone. I'm like, yeah, because it's like there's no reason that I shouldn't be. And that's just kind of why I do it.
That's really beautiful. I love that bucket analogy. I don't care that we're teenagers. I think we should still live by that. Have that full bucket. For you, Luca, I have kind of a more personal question. But because like Rachel said before, that Luca is very friendly with everyone and he's a guy everyone likes. Has that ever caused any issues for you in any of your friendships?
Very much so. I had a friend, and they really hated this one person that I would talk to. I wasn't even close with them, but they just didn't like that I would even talk to them. And so I tried not to talk to them as much, mainly because, like, knowing that someone would do this to someone else, I was like, that's kind of not good. But I would still, like, keep the basic, hi, how are you doing, what's up, all that, like, stuff, like, the basics, instead of, like, all the stuff that I, like, the closer stuff I used to do. And then they would get mad at me, and they're like, you're just doing this because they told you to, or they told you this, that might not be true. And even in my like more personal friend group, there's so much like dislike of certain other friend groups in my group that I'm closer with. And so like I'll be hanging out with someone in this group and they'll be like, but I hate them. Why are you with this person? I don't like them at all. And then they get like mad at me, and then they'll be like sour to me the next few times I see them, and so I hang out with them instead. But then the other person feels that way, or someone else feels that way. And it's just like a cycle, so you just have to like deal with it and put it off.
I think what you're describing is the epitome of high school.
Yeah.
Like I think that's just a result of immaturity, because I feel like when we go into adulthood, hopefully people will understand like it's better to just be, like I keep saying, cordial and just respectful than to incite more issues and be like, I'm not associating with this person or even speaking to them because of what they did to you. I think it's better have your boundaries and have loyalty, because loyalty is the number one thing that you should have in a friendship. So loyalty is very important, but it's also, loyalty also comes with showing everyone respect. Just, watch where you spend your time and who you confide in and what you say about others behind their back.
Yeah, I fully agree. And so, Luca, I just wanted to ask a follow-up to what you just said, that when certain friends get upset, like, why are you hanging out with this person? Well, you shouldn't be hanging out with this person. And then they're distant to you the next few times that you're hanging out. When that happens, regardless of what you feel is right or not, do you take some responsibility? Like, does it cause some anguish to you when a friend is upset with you for hanging out with someone they didn't want you to hang out with? Or do you think, like, well, that's their problem, not mine?
I think it's a little bit of both, because I do feel, I understand.
Regardless of what you feel is right or not, like, how do you really feel on the inside, if that makes sense?
I will always feel a little bad because there's a reason why they dislike them, and I'm like kind of betraying my friends, kind of. But I think overall it doesn't really hurt me in any way unless that person does something immediately wrong to me. Yeah.
What about your family? If someone wronged your family, would this principle change for you?
Yes. Yeah. To my parents, yeah. If someone wronged my parents anyway, you'd normally be like, what? Why would you say that? Or why would you do that? But if it was to my sister, I understand.
That's funny. So what about, does this principle change in a romantic relationship? If someone harms something that you have romantic interest in, even that you call a significant other, does that principle change?
I think so too, because at that point, that person's more than friends, but still like less than family. Not really like less than, but like they're not quite family, but you're still very close with them, and you have to take on like a different form of care for that person. And I think that form lands more in the family department. So you should take, like, if someone talks bad about your significant other, you'd be like, why would you say that?
I think what I'm gathering from this conversation is Luca, you prioritize your family, right? And I think because you have so many friends, it's hard to be like, all of them deserve this loyalty, all of them deserve this level of respect. For me, I completely disagree with you. And I'm not saying either of us is wrong. It's just I have such little friends. LOL. I have such small, tight-knit friend groups that I view them as family. I have acquaintances at school, but I agree with you. I wouldn't stop talking to someone if they had a problem with them, or, but like Olivia is my absolute best friend. So if she felt a certain way about someone, I would respect her wishes regardless of how they treated me. And it doesn't mean I'm going to treat that person with disrespect in any way or by any means. It's just I view my friends as kind of extended family, which is why I hold a different principle to that than you. But I also think that it's important to note, regardless of what you're saying and how you're saying that people come up to you and they say, this person did X, Y, and Z, this person's a bad person, why are you hanging out with them? I think we should all see to it ourselves and let ourselves develop opinions of other people. Because if I let other people tell me who my friends should be and like who's a good person and who's not, first of all, they would be entirely wrong, because as Luca was saying earlier, you can be an absolute perfect angel and people will find a reason not to like you. You will always have people hating on you or trying to drag you down. So I think it's so important that we don't have other people telling us how we should view others and who we should like and who we should hang around, because at the end of the day, you should come to that conclusion yourself. Because in high school, I feel like there's so many, like, first of all, completely false rumors and like just untrue statements and just gossip that fluctuates, that I feel like we shouldn't take it as truth. We should kind of make sure that we take the time to.
I agree. When the question was posed to me asking about like how I'd react to friends versus family, I was like thinking like general friends, like someone I see at school but like not outside. I do too have small friend groups, 2 of them, not really like a large amount. And if I hear someone saying, I don't mess with blank, or no, blank's annoying, I'm going to be like, don't talk to him about it. Like kind of like jokingly, but like I mean it. I'll be like, don't talk about him like that. But like I genuinely mean it.
Okay, good.
But sometimes if the friend's not there to defend themselves, you kind of have to step in for them sometimes with like friends like that.
1,000,000%.
So I think this is a value that I learned within the past year, that if you hear your friends talking negatively about someone else, even if you don't know the person they're talking about, I think it is important to advise them against that. And because then it's not just treating people kindly to their face, but behind their back, that's a value that matters as well. And I think people forget that, because it's easy to think like, well, they'll never know. How is this hurting them? They're not going to hear it. But then, like I was saying earlier, how does that affect you as a person or reflect the decisions that you're making? So even though it's really hard to do, if you hear a friend talking negatively about someone else, being unkind about someone else, do you speak up against it? Even if you don't know that person that they're talking about, do you speak up against it? And if so, how? And if not, why not?
I wouldn't really say I stand up for someone that I don't know if I hear them talking bad. I'll inquire why they're talking bad. I'll be like, what did they do? Or what did they say? And like based off the inquiry, I'll probably be like, oh, interesting. But I won't really form opinions of them, or I won't really defend them or form opinions of them until I meet them and just like learn a little bit from themselves, not from what I hear from other people.
We are going to do an entire episode on gossiping, and I don't think this is a widely accepted belief, but something that I do believe in is I don't care how you feel about someone, what they did to you, you don't talk bad about other people. You can have thoughts in your head. I just think it's so important to not vocalize them, because by dragging other people down, especially in group settings, it reflects who you are as a person. And just think about, like, if someone were to do that to you, like back to the golden rule, like, would you want someone to sit around a campfire with your friends speaking negatively on your name, calling you annoying, calling you, just tearing you down? And like, think about if you were that person being spoken of, how poorly that would feel. So I know even if you're surrounded by friends, you might feel comfortable and you know it'll never get out and it'll never go back to that person. But I think we should just work on being more morally inclined people and not speaking poorly. Even if someone has done you wrong, you don't have to let everyone know. That's something I've been struggling with, is like, someone did me wrong, I want to tell people so they know what this person did. But you don't need to. No one needs to know. No one needs to get revenge. Just let it go and move on with your life, because by vocalizing it, you're kind of feeding into the issue and the drama.
And I also think that it's important to encourage your friends to not do that as well. If you hear them talking, like Luca said, inquiring and wondering, okay, why? Because it could be a valid point that they're making, but then stop them from going further. I think it's a really blurry line between explaining something that happened to you and then talking badly about someone, right? Putting someone down unnecessarily, anytime someone puts someone's appearance down, that's talking bad automatically. You can't say like, what? That's how they look. No, you're talking bad. I think things like that, you should encourage your friends to stop. So I think it is okay to be like, all right, you're just explaining a situation that happened. But once they're tearing them down, especially if that situation didn't have to do with you, I don't think you should be talking about it either. You should absolutely encourage your friends to let that go and to be kinder, because I think golden rule, if someone was talking negatively about you, someone was dragging you down, you would want someone there to be your advocate. So be that person's advocate. Even if you don't know them, be the advocate. Do you have anything to add on, Luca?
I really like the quote, be their advocate. I just think that sounds good.
I mean, it is tricky though, because if you're with a friend and they're kind of confiding in you, and then you're like the other person's advocate, you don't want to like hurt anyone's feelings. I think it's more of just like, don't let it get too far, right? Like don't let it get to the point where your friend is insulting someone, and especially their appearance or their personality. It should never get that far. So yeah, I don't know, what do you mean by be their advocate?
Be their advocate, like I'm talking about their, in quotes, is referring to the person being dragged down. So if you hear someone being talked poorly about, even if they're not their friend, and you can tell like this is not just explaining something that happened, this is truly dragging that person down unnecessarily, speaking poorly, stand up for them when they are not there to get the chance to stand up. Because they're not there to explain their side. They're not there to be like, don't say that about me. That's not okay. So be that for them. I think if there's just a few more people at our school that start doing that, I think kindness would increase. I think it would become less acceptable. And when I say be their advocate, it's because you would want someone else to be your advocate. Treat other people how you want to be treated. If you weren't there in a conversation, you would want someone to do the same for you.
I think a last kind of segment of the golden rule is also in jokes, because a lot of us make jokes that are offensive and do hurt people's feelings, and we'll kind of write it off as a joke. So think about, if someone said this to me, would it be funny? And I haven't experienced it as badly in high school as I did in middle school, but people making fun of your appearance as a joke, I don't think that's a joke, right? So before you make a joke, think, if someone made fun of me for this, how would it make me feel?
I would get lanky a lot. And they're like, oh, you're so lanky. You're like Gumby. And I'm like, wow, thanks. Because they're like,
how do you respond?
Yeah, I'm like, how am I supposed to take that? Not only do I not get the reference because I'm not 80 years old, but I don't, like, thank you, I'm tall, but, like, being, like, calling someone, like, based off of how their weight is, like, be it underweight or overweight, it's just not really polite nor funny. Yeah. Unless it's, like, not unless it's, like, I was trying to think of a reference, but, like, I can't even think of, like, a funny little joke because the Gumby one isn't funny.
I'm sorry that got told to you, Luca. And I think we definitely want to touch on this in gossiping. We're going to do a gossiping podcast. We're also going to do a bullying podcast. So we're going to get to expand on this a little bit more. And that's a really excellent point that you made. So just back to the golden rule, to treat others how you want to be treated. Thank you so much to our guest, Mr. Luca Herman, for coming on. If you have any last remarks regarding this principle that's so prominent in your life and so important to you.
Thank you first off for letting me talk on something that is, like you've said, very important to me, because it is. But I really think we hit everything and everything more than I even thought of. Because when we hit like the 3-minute mark, I was like, oh my God, what else do I talk about? And then once we like kind of kept rolling, like comparing it to other things and how it affected you guys and how it affected me, we see that there's a lot of talk about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on. Thank you everyone for listening.
And we're very grateful. And I can say that Luca does use this rule, and I hope that
He
more
absolutely
people see it and decide to too. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much for listening. We love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.